The Cultural and Spiritual Impact of Father Divine by Leah Morton, Soli Jarrett, and Jalen Jordan.
Father Divine is thought to be born in Rockville, Maryland in 1876. Although much of his childhood remains a mystery, he emerged as one of the most influential figures of the earliest 20th century. Many suppose he was a son of freed slaves, but this is still disputed due to information about his upbringing being unavailable. Despite the mystery behind his early life, it's believed he was born into humble circumstances. The first record of his origins date back to 1906, in which he traveled to California and started down his religious path. It was in the Golden State where he would encounter his spiritual callings. There, Father Divine's spiritual awakening occurred in the Lou, hearing about Charles Fillmore and the New Thought movement, a mental healing movement embracing a number of small groups and organizations devoted generally to such ideas as spiritual healing. The creative power of constructive thinking and personal guidance from an inner presence, defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, therefore emphasizing the power of positive thinking and a transformation through mental discipline. Charles Fillmore was a prominent figure on Father Divine throughout this movement and co-founder of the Unity Church. Soon after, he began preaching at a nearby Baptist church where he met Samuel Morse. Taken in by Morris' proclamation of being God, Father Divine joined him as the messenger. He was awakened to the idea that divine presence was within every individual person and there was potential for enlightenment through spiritual alignment.
After parting ways with Morris, Father Divine embarked on his own journey claiming he was the one and only God and headed south preaching. As he headed south, he was on a mission to spread his message of divine and spiritual empowerment. Once in Georgia, Father Divine started to expand his followers until it became a full-on religion backed by an almost cult following. Many African Americans found hope in Father Divine's teachings due to the racism and economic issues during this era. Furthermore, his religious following was global by the time he passed in 1965 due to complications from diabetes and arteriosclerosis. Father Divine's movement evolved into its own set of doctrines and rituals and structure. His most remarkable aspect is the global reach his movement foreseen. Through the process of creating his religion, Father Divine was beneficial to many people, specifically poor African Americans. He was committed to social justice and economic empowerment, working to uplift the disadvantaged. Not only did he fight racism, but he also helped bring opportunities of guidance for people out of poverty and social services in need by giving them jobs through his church.
To the naked eye, it would seem that Father Divine was a contributing member of society that cared deeply for his followers. On the contrary, his actions and ideals in his religion classify it as a pseudo-cult. He presented himself as a gracious person, but when you examine his path closer, it reveals a darker side. Specifically, his leadership style was strict over the control of his followers' lives, where the individual autonomy was often suppressed in favor of blind obedience to the leader. Along with his methods of exploiting rather than uplifting through his own organization, he would maintain a hold on his followers' lives, trapping them into an effect of dependence and control. Many sacrificed their financial resources and personal autonomy to Father Divine's vision, only to be disappointed in their well-being and loved ones. While most praised his efforts by combating controversy and providing for the needy, others criticized his sincerity of his motives. Continually, Father Divine was overall not a contributing member to society and negatively impacted many around him. The objective of this video is to help the viewer understand the social ramifications of Father Divine on his many communities, followers, and the world. How did Father Divine impact social and racial equality during his time?
Father Divine had a profound impact on social and racial equality during his era as a prophet. At a time when racial tensions were high and segregation was deeply ingrained in society, he advocated for racial integration and equality, promoting a message of unity and love among all people, creating a message that the idea of racial divisions were an artificial construct inflicted by ignorance and fear. Though his teachings, he sought a mutual understanding amongst people of all races. Therefore, Father Divine's movement provided opportunities for African Americans and races to come together, breaking down barriers and fostering. Father Divine challenged the prevailing racial prejudice of the era and worked towards a more inclusive society. There is no denying the significance of his efforts for advocating a more equitable society, inspiring countless individuals to embrace their dignity and respect regardless of their race or background.
What were his contributions to society?
Father Divine made significant contributions to society during his time, both positive and controversial. On the positive side, he preached messages of love, unity, and racial equality, challenging the prevailing racial prejudice of the era. He emerged as a hope for many communities seeking a vision of society. Father Divine also promoted economic independence and self-sufficiency, empowering Black communities and encouraging entrepreneurship. His efforts in providing food and shelter during the Great Depression helped many people in offering a sense of hope, stability during the challenging times. His actions demonstrated a commitment to compassion and the principles of generosity he preached. However, it's important to note that Father Divine's movement was not without controversy. Some critics argue that his charismatic leadership bordered on cult-like behavior with strict control over his followers' lives. Additionally, his teachings and practices were seen by some as unorthodox and unconventional.
What was his legacy to the world? In other words, what did he leave behind?
Father Divine is neither criticized nor celebrated, but he definitely belongs in the history books for a number of reasons. He was an evangelical Christian that proclaimed himself to be God in the flesh. In other words, he founded the International Peace Mission, a movement that left a mark on society during the tumultuous years of the Great Depression, allowing him to feed thousands during the Great Depression, along with providing housing, education, and clothing during the times of struggle. His commitment to alleviating suffering earned him a place in history as a humanitarian and philanthropist of great stature. The people that worked directly with Father Divine often worked in one of the many businesses he owned. His spirit led him to establish numerous enterprises with his organizations, empowering a better future and control of their own destinies. Still, for a man of such stature, his influence is considered between a cult discussion or civil rights historian.
In conclusion, Father Divine's legacy is complex, both commendable with achievements and continuous controversy. Still to this day, we try to understand his place in history, but we can gain an understanding of the impact he endured on the lives of those he touched. Hopefully, after engaging with the video, you can comprehend his leadership and implications on his teachings to the society. He has earned his place as a humanitarian and philanthropist of great stature through feeding programs, housing projects, and educational. Despite the controversies surrounding Father Divine, his testament and impact on civil rights history cannot be denied. What side are you on?